All right, a little update on the Open Studios front. Today's Friday. I'm filming this on Friday, and on Wednesday we had a preview show where collectors could go in, and basically what artists had at least one piece on the show. And because there's about 120 artists participating, collectors can actually go to the preview show and plan their routes, who they want to see, because there's no way over the 2-weekend period that you're going to see all 120 artists. So it was a really, really exciting event. But it got me thinking, it actually gave me an idea for this video today, and I wanted to do it a little bit differently than a vlog style video. I hope it will help in some way, because I know when I came to this realization, it was a complete unlock for my creative practice, and I hope it will for you too. Here I'm working on, I like to do like these. They're actually a really challenging piece for me to paint small. I normally paint large, but I like to do that because it takes me maybe 2-3 hours to paint the small piece. Now I'm working on 100 Days of Moon. Last year I worked on 100 Days of Sun series, and it's not every day out of 100 days, but it's enough for me to, every day you're in the studio, to start with a smaller piece. Actually, there's a lot of things I learned I can relate to my larger pieces as well. So for today, I'm going to be working on this one. But before I do that, I wanted to do a video that I've seen. There's a lot of videos on YouTube going around of people just talking to the camera and kind of really be unedited. So I'm trying to do this. I have some notes just to kind of keep me on track, because sometimes I go off tangents. I'm a little nervous. I've never done this before. This is gonna be my first time actually just speaking to camera. I've done podcasts, but I'm speaking to another person, but this is just me and the camera, which is weird, so please stay with me. I wanted to make a video about the importance of using tools, the right tools for the right job. I equate this as you can use a knife to hurt someone, or you can use a knife to feed someone. I look at social media with the same kind of lens. So my number one rule in the studio is create first, consume later, and consume second. Oftentimes, like when we get up in the morning and we immediately go into our phone, we have no room for our ideas to breathe. I found for me, when in the mornings, when I carve out time to not go on my phone at all and just go in the studio. It can even be sketching. It can be, I play the violin, so I can be playing the violin. It can be meditation. Whatever it is, I just allow yourself to create just a space, whatever it is, whatever your practice is, to breathe and carve out time to play without any judgments. That kind of system that I found works really well for me, because it creates a way for me to, instead of waiting for inspiration to strike, you're basically creating the fertile soil where inspirations can sprout from. And whether you don't feel like it or not, or even some days you don't feel like it, definitely I have some days that I don't feel like it. Sometimes it's a 5-minute practice, sometimes it's a 10-minute practice, sometimes it's 30 minutes when you're lost in the process. And I found that practice really, really helped me create more. It's like, I don't know, it feels like the paintings are stronger when I create from that space. Then I feel like when I'm immediately going on my phone, it's kind of bleeds into my consciousness more, because especially I'm a visual person. So I learn through visual means, and oftentimes it can just be too much information all at the same time. You almost lose your voice in that. Like one of my, it's such a pet peeve of mine when I hear artists saying, in one breath, they say they really want to create art, whatever it is. So it can be anything, like even content creation, whatever creative endeavor that you want to create, that they want to create. And there's room for that by itself. But the pet peeve of mine is when in the same breath, in the same sentence, they say they want to create, but then they say, I don't do social media, or no, like like, no, I'm not good at social media. And they just assign themselves this label that I'm not good at social media. Or like, I hate all that. It's just such this hierarchical view of a tool that you get to decide your relationship with, instead of acting like you're the victim of this tool. And in the same breath, they want to make sure that I want to make money from my work. They complain about their career not going well, or as well as they'd like. And for me, it's like, wait, creating a community is not important to you? Getting your work seen is not important to you? How are you going to have people interact with your work if they don't see the work? Like, half of the work is, yes, you create in your studio and it's amazing, but the other half is people's response to your work. And oftentimes people respond to something that's not, like, you can't control. That's like outside of your control is how people respond. So for your job is to put it out there, and that's it. That's your controllable. Everything else, other responses, is as a non-controllable. Everybody has their little worlds that they build. They walk with so much history in them, and we don't know that. There's no way we can control that, how our work is perceived or seen. And so it's, for me, the moment I realized this, that social media, and I'm not even that good at it yet. I'm still in progress because it's a recent thing for me, and which is why I started this YouTube channel, because I'm like, well, if you follow ArtNet or any of the Christie Sotheby's, they can, like last week, they released a statement saying that the art market is down 86%. Now, they're talking about a different art market, but as a whole, as a collector's market, they're talking about that. But I found this to be a really great opportunity for artists, because everything goes in cycles, and everything goes like this. And so that will be by itself, it's like energetic flow will always happen, but that is not controllable for you. Your controllable is how you can ride the waves of this energy and align with your, like, what is your intention with social media. So for me, it's really about creating communities around work, because I think we all are creative in our own way. And art sometimes speaks to a level in us that oftentimes words cannot. It's like on a soul level that you just connect to it. So oftentimes you can't even explain why you connect to it, but you do. And that's, for me, that's how I view my social media. And I understand it's not easy to put yourself out there. Trust me. This is going to be my third longer form video on YouTube, and I cringe at myself because it's very new for me. I'm uncomfortable, deeply uncomfortable. But I have to go through it to become more comfortable, because I know I want to share my work. I want to create communities. I have some ideas of how this industry can really change, because as industries become, or systems, I think as systems crumble, it's our job to also rebuild the system we want to see. And so it's a continuous dance. And for me, that brings a lot of inspiration. So as collecting art becomes a lot more accessible, which it should, because there have been numerous studies where it said that people who live with art, like fine art, that they're happier. My favorite thing is not even when somebody famous collects my work. My favorite collectors are the ones who just really deeply connect to the work. They save up the money, and they get it as something to feed the soul, and they look at it every day and they live with it, and it puts a smile on their face, or they feel understood. I think for art, when you buy something with an emotional, based on emotion, it's because you feel understood on some level. It's maybe not even the intention of the artist. I collect work like that. Sometimes I don't even care about the story of it. I just connect to it, and the story sometimes even skews my own connection, but I trust myself enough to just connect with it and decide whether or not I want to live with this piece. I often think of all the women artists and underrepresented communities that would kill to have this tool, or to be able to share their work with the world. And I feel a sense of responsibility to do this, because it's just how many artists are completely unknown because they didn't have the tools, they didn't have the means. They lived in a different time where women were not allowed to paint, their ideas weren't taken seriously. And now we live in this amazing time where we can make our ideas as artists accessible to everyone. Because when somebody collects your work, there's this energy exchange that happens. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things, because we're always exchange energy, but this is such an intentional way to exchange energy, which is why after every show I have, I always collect a work from another artist. I'll do another video on that, and I'll kind of walk you through and share what work I have collected from artists. But I love it because it feeds the art community again, and it's just a reciprocal way of having a studio practice. At the end of the day, you just have to ask yourself, where's the ego in all of this? Am I creating something to just look cool? I don't care about that. Every time I post, I completely detach my ego, because that's not a controllable again. Many people think that posting online is ego-focused, and for me, it's the opposite. Actually, I ask myself, what is my why? What is my mission statement? And being clear with that, the answer, like for me, my mission is just to connect. I do want to have a full-time studio practice, but I don't want to have, I just want to paint and sculpt. Zero judgment on these channels that create art they sell art classes on how to do business in art, and it's great for them if that's the path that they chose. But for me, I know that it's not, I don't want to make an art with teaching how to do art business, the business side of art. I wanted to just paint and share my work and share my ideas. I think it helps to have values as an artist, and one of mine is to create more than you consume. And another one of mine is to connect. One of the things I really dislike about the fine art world is there's this unattainable quality for most of the people. So the very few only have access to it. And it goes completely against my ethics and as a human being. It's not something I don't want to create for that type of audience. I want a regular person who connects with my work to live with it and appreciate it. And it's so much more meaningful to me than any gallery show. I noticed that everything in the art world, they never lead change. They respond to change. Like, look at Banksy. When he started, they didn't even consider his work art. And now he has auctions at Sotheby's and Christie's and other auction houses because they follow the money. They don't care as much about art. And for me, now, I'm not going to say all of them. There are some galleries who actually really, really care for art. But they also are running a business, so I understand that. But for me, that's not a controllable. Again, I can only be responsible for my controllable. And my controllable is to show up every day, whether I feel like it or not, create way before I consume, a lot more creation than consumption, and learn the tools that I need in order for me to run a full-time studio practice. The moment I realized that, biggest unlock for me is realizing that everything is a skill. We weren't born knowing how to read or write. We weren't born knowing how to use our cell phone. It's a skill. You learn it. And it's the same thing with money. You learn it. It's the same thing as business side of running a practice. If you actually want to have a full-time studio practice and make a living with your art, that's a decision that you have to make for yourself. And only you can make that for you. And complaining about social media is not only non-controllable, you're not seeing the bigger picture of the opportunity that it brings. And it's up to you to say, you know what, I'm only going to spend 15 minutes on social media. It's up to you to do that. And I know the systems are set up for us to become addicted. Yes. All of that is true. And it's up to us. we decide what is our bigger goal with this. If your bigger goal is to run a full-time studio practice, then you're going to need to use these tools. You're going to need to learn how to use these tools. And so the change in any industry, but especially in the art, I'm going to speak to my industry. In the art industry, the change always starts from the bottom up. So as the current systems are crumbling or shifting, it's our job as full-time as artists to create the system that we want to see. And it's this beautiful dance and exchange of energy. And I wish more artists understood this, because I think it would be such a big unlock for them that this is just a skill. And yes, you're going to cringe at yourself a little bit in the beginning, but eventually you will be better and better. Well, that's my hope. That's actually my hope with this channel too. Establishing non-negotiables. For me, a non-negotiable is, like, I have 2 kids. I take them to school. By the time I come to the studio, it's about 9 o'clock. From 9 to 3, my phone is on airplane mode. People can't reach me. I don't want to know what's going on. It's my work to create. It feels infuriating when you're in the middle of painting and you get this alert and it completely ruins your flow. That's what I do. That's a non-negotiable for me. That helps me a lot, because then I know I have this block of 6 hours that I could just focus on art and not have to worry about anything else. And it makes me a lot more judicious with my time. Having kids made me realize how to manage my time better. Part of being confident in your work and on, whatever the tools that you're using, social media per se, is knowing your intention. Because nobody can tell you what your intention is. Only you know your intention. If your intention is to create a thriving arts community around your practice and uplifting other artists, then why would you not put yourself out there? And even though you cringe in the beginning, that's okay. Even though if you're not confident, to me, this is why the systems that you establish are incredibly important. Say you make a promise posting 2 things online or twice a week. Because in art, oftentimes, like, we listen to so many podcasts on the business side, and they tell you, post 6 pieces of content and whatnot. And then a lot of artists get confused and overwhelmed because they're like, no way I can create this much content in a week. And it makes you basically just not do anything at all. There is partly business, but art is run completely differently than a regular product-based business. So for you to realize, okay, what is my intention with this? Because nobody can tell you otherwise if you know deep down. And then you will know that even if somebody criticizes you because they are projecting how they see you, that's on them. That's not on you. And once you have this intention, you make a schedule that you can follow and say, okay, and make a promise to yourself that I'll be posting, say, twice a week. And you keep that promise to yourself. That creates trust. It creates trust in yourself that no matter what, you're going to keep that word. You're going to keep your word to yourself. Like I'm doing this with YouTube. That even though the first video took me about 50 hours to edit, that's okay. Because I made a commitment to myself to post once a week, and by any means necessary, I will be doing that to the best of my ability. So that creates trust that you keeping your word, because we're so easy. We keep our words to other people a lot more often than we keep our words to ourselves. And the moment we start really, really trusting ourselves, the building the trust is by doing what you're saying you're going to do for yourself. Not because there's going to be some outside source telling you, oh, you didn't keep your promise. You do this for yourself. And that builds a level of trust that I don't think anything else can replicate. And having this level of confidence and trust in yourself is the perfect foundation where you can build a whole studio practice on. And imagine the joy that people have collecting work from a living artist, and they'll be able to have such a human connection with you and your work, and they're going to feel understood. I think it's one of the most beautiful things, beautiful exchanges of energy. So you just got to do it. I hope this helps, and I'll see you next week.